So welcome everybody to our first webinar of this season, hosted by Educational Gerontology Special Interest Group of PSG. My name is Natalia. I'm one of the co-chairs of the interest section, and here we also have John, Marian, and Yitka. Together, we are the three co-chairs of the special interest group. Our work primarily centers during the year on organizing webinars and networking opportunities for our membership. And during the conference, which is going to be happening next year, and we're very excited about it, we are organizing a flagship symposium and generally support a lot of research and activities that happen during the conference. Our special interest group, as titled Education Gerontology, focuses on all issues that are related to aging, educational development, age-related changes in learning engagement, effective learning strategies for aging populations, culturally diverse educational initiatives for seniors. We also do research on benefits of intergenerational learning. And a lot of people who are members of our intersection look at policy and economic issues in education gerontology. If you received our invitation to this webinar through our listserv email, we're very happy to see you. If you just received this email because somebody forwarded it to you, you can absolutely join our listserv and our special interest group, even if you're not a member of PSG, by just taking this QR code, and it will take you to a form that you can fill out, and I will add you to our listserv. Or if the QR code is not working for some reason, feel free to just send me a private message during the webinar, and I will happily add you to our listserv. So this is my little spiel, and now I'm happy to pass it over to Harriet with a lot of gratitude for taking time to talk to us today.
Hello. I will also just share my screen. And I also have a video later on that I have not checked that it works, so I will try and play it, and just let me know if it doesn't work, okay? And I'll just send you the link instead. All right, can everyone see that okay?
Yes, it works well.
Yes, it works well. Brilliant. Okay. So thank you very much to Jitka and Natalia for inviting me to be here. A little bit about me to begin with. I have been at the Third Age Trust for about 4 years now, and the trust is the national body for the u3a movement. I have a background in community psychology, and also have worked over the last 20 years in policy and research relating to healthy aging. So when I moved over back to the UK I was based in Melbourne for about 20 years. And when I moved back here, I was really excited at the opportunity to join u3a because I knew all about it. And for me, it's really it's the embodiment of positive aging and a real force for change. So it was really good to be a part of it. However, ever since I joined the team, people have told me it's a best kept secret, hence our title here. And this seemed quite strange to me because we have over 400,000 members across the UK. We're also the 17th largest membership organisation in the UK, and that's behind National Trust and other various unions, etc. So that's a pretty big secret. But having said that, 400,000 people is only 3% of, say, if we say people over 65. So there's certainly room for scope for growth, although we do know that U3A is not for everyone. So the question I suppose I'm posing here is it time for the U3A to shine or shine more brightly, or is the model no longer fit for purpose? And I'd love to draw on your own expertise and insight once you've heard a bit more about the model. I don't assume, well, I know that Jitka and Natalia are researchers, but I'm not sure where, everyone else's background. So I'll be really interested to sort of hear from a sort of more research perspective how the U3A sits amongst that, but also from any other perspectives and any insights going forward. Natalia, can I just check how long we've got until 5, right? So I'm assuming I'll speak for about half an hour and then we open it up to conversation or discussion.
Yeah, that's perfect.
Yeah, okay. So before we go on, I just wanted to find out a little bit from you, and just so I know who my audience is, what do you know about the U3A? I can't actually see everyone, so I don't know what's going to be the best way to do this.
We can ask it to be put in the chat, and then I will just read it out.
Okay, well, maybe we'll just do a kind of sliding scale then of, what do you know about the U3A from 0 to, absolutely nothing to 10, it's your chosen specialist subject.
We're going to put it in the chat, guys. I'm going to be the first.
So just put a number in from 0, nothing to 10, a lot.
You got 1, we got 6.
Oh, okay.
7, 8, 2, 10, 9.
Oh,
8, 7, 6.
so a real range. That's great. That's really good. So I'll speak more to I'll be inclusive and speak more to those that don't know so much.
Sorry, Harriet,
about
we also have some a couple of members of U3As. So
oh, do we? Okay, excellent. Well, then maybe, at the end when we have some discussion, they can talk from their perspective. That's fantastic and welcome. And also it's very timely when Jitka suggested this date. I had no idea, but it is actually U3A week, which is a time for us of like big celebration, a sort of national celebration, and when we try and sort of raise a profile about U3A and tell more people about it, so that anyone who it does suit knows about it and can come along and find out more about it. And I'm wearing my yellow. We've got yellow and blue colors, so I thought that was quite appropriate. Okay, so just a little bit of an overview about what I plan to talk to you today about, a little bit about the origins and the history of the U3A movement, a bit about the UK model, what the U3A looks like today, some of the challenges and some future opportunities, and like I said, hopefully lots of time for discussion at the end. So the origins of the U3A, it started in France, an initiative very much centered around the University of Toulouse. It was Pierre Vellard who actually was responsible for the development of the first U3A founded in Toulouse. And then this idea of the U3A spread rapidly across the world, and an international body was then set up. In the UK, it was actually in 1982 that it was developed, and these are our 3 founders of the U3A model in the UK, quite different to the French model, which I'll go into in a little bit. But each of these founders came from quite different backgrounds. Eric Midwinter was an educationalist, had a really good understanding of what could be achieved by ordinary people. for whom formal education hadn't worked. Michael Young in the middle, he was a social entrepreneur responsible for developing lots of different organizations at the time, including JITCA, Open University, so you probably know that. And Peter Laslett, he was a Cambridge professor who had done a lot of work around aging and was very impressed by all the ideas that were sort of happening in Toulouse at the time. So they together established the u3a in 1982 with the belief that later life should really be a time of continued learning, connection, and contribution. And at this time, sort of late 70s, 80s, as you will probably know, lots of things were changing. It was real fertile ground for the development of kind of new initiatives like this. The third sector term was moving into the vocabulary. Volunteers and volunteer organizations were featuring more prominently on the government agenda, and social work was really embracing community development type practices. So it was Peter Laslett who really recognized that there was a change in the life and expectations of older people. He actually coined the term the third age, in the acknowledgement that it's not necessarily a time, it's not connected with chronological age, but a time after employment and time for oneself. And people were living longer. So many people who had missed out on formal education opportunities now had the opportunity to share knowledge with each other. So from its earliest days here, so the first u3a was founded in 1982, but the trust, which I work for, was established in 1983. And so from its earliest days, the u3a movement was a confederation of independent local organizations with a national and legal framework, which is the trust. And we'll talk a little bit more about that later as well. I just want to spend a few moments talking about Eric Midwinter, who sadly died very recently, just last month. He described the beginnings of the u3a in the UK as anarchistic. So there's no one in charge, very few guidelines, and it was community development at its best. So this is what he says here. The starting point was the sense that older age should be looked on more positively. I find it difficult sometimes now to believe how bad the imagery of older age was in the 70s. There was a sense of older age being over the hill, and oldness was very much identified as illness. So at the time, you know, creating a sort of organization like this was really quite radical in relation to sort of thinking about older age. So it was very different to now. So he sought to really challenge the stereotypes about older people and what retirement could really be about. And he actually decided, well, their decision was to retain the name university in the title, despite the difference between the French and the UK model. And this was a bit of a tongue-in-cheek effort by Eric to convey that actually it wasn't just for the elite, but it was very much open to all. And interestingly, as an organization, we no longer refer to the full title, University of the Third Age, because it just has been, we spend more time explaining what it is and what it isn't. So it's just the u3a now, because university gets very complicated. No, it's not a university. It can almost feel quite elitist and off-putting for some people. And the third age, a lot of people don't know what the third age is. So, like I've said, unlike the French model, the UK model is not attached to universities, and there's several core principles that the u3a embodies. U3As they're homegrown and run by and for members. So it's the members that determine what groups there are, what they learn. They're not classes, they're groups, and the members determine what's offered and how they're run. So one of the key principles is the self-help learning principle. There's no distinction between learners and teachers, and they're just all u3a members, so they learn from and teach each other. There's a recognition that all members have knowledge and experience to share, and that the groups themselves share their skills and knowledge and expertise and research with each other, with other groups within the u3a, but also with other u3as. It is open to all those in the third age. So as I said before, that's not a particular age, chronological age. There's no upper or lower age barrier, although, I mean, this is a common myth amongst a lot of members, that, you know, you have to be over 50 or something, but it's not true. You can be any age, and we've got a 27-year-old somewhere. It's generally people who have time to spare, and not in full-time employment. And every u3a member is a volunteer. Every u3a is run by a committee of members, and they're elected as trustees. So it's their volunteers, and then there's interest group leaders. There's all sorts of different members that volunteer their time. When you join u3a, the whole ethos of u3a is that you are actively engaged. It's a mutual aid organization, so people share their skills and resources, and that's what helps to keep it really low cost, and it's entirely membership funded. So just a little bit about the focus on non-formal learning. So we know formal learning, sort of very structured and organized, institutionalized, so universities and schools. Informal learning is very much describes the everyday learning that people experience throughout their lives, just typically taking place naturally and spontaneously as part of other activities. So non-formal learning is very much this kind of area in between those two. So it might be structured, it's bottom up, it's a mutual experience without sort of dominant oversight by a teacher. Learners are teachers and teachers are learners, and all learners are active participants. And unlike sort of more formal learning, it's particularly suited for learning at an older age. And importantly, there's no qualifications are sought or offered, and learning is for its own sake, with enjoyment being the prime motive, not qualifications or rewards. It's for fun. Right, so a little bit more about u3as. So there's over 1,000 u3as across the UK, and you can see in this picture, though, every single flag is a u3a. So we've got a lot, and they're all different colours based on the region or devolved nation that they're a part of. All u3as are independent charities. They range in size from up to the biggest, which is a few thousand, and then the average is about 400, but some might be under 100. And there's over, like I said at the beginning, over 400,000 members across the UK at the moment. And so u3as kind of have a shared DNA, but it's a ground up movement, so they have tended to grow in a way that reflects their area, their location, and the community that is there. It's a real social movement. Just a little bit more about our approach on the ground. So members looking to join, they would pay about £16 per year. That's a whole year, and they can join any groups. So really, really low cost. I mean, it's quite incredible. And this includes a contribution to the Third Age Trust. And members, as I said before, members decide what they want to learn. There's generally small groups, and they meet in members' homes, or they hire rooms or halls, or hopefully get them for free through the council or through the library. And all u3as hold monthly meetings where all members can meet and hear news and catch up, and often they have a guest speaker. The activity groups are a central part of every u3a, and across the UK there's over 40,000 groups on a whole range of different topics. I've listed a few here: languages, walking groups are probably the most popular, theatre, art, music, boating, dancing, cycling, you name it, there you've got it. And it is all dependent on the members themselves. So if a member has an interest or skills in something, photography, then they will step up and possibly offer to lead a group, and then that members can share resources. Central to that is volunteer subject advisors. So they are national, and so if someone wants to start a group, they can ask the subject advisor, look, I really want to start a group on this, and then the subject advisor can provide loads of resources, etc., for them to do that. We have also got an entirely virtual u3a, and this unsurprisingly was created during across the pandemic, when it was a funny time for all of us, and some u3as struggled quite a lot and just shut down completely. Others really embraced technology and Zoom and moved online, and so u3a groups, interest groups online, was created from there, and that is still going and has 80 online interest groups. And in addition to that, actually, there's summer schools that happen regionally, and there's also a u3a festival where members from across the whole of the UK can come together and celebrate and attend sessions, etc. So there's lots of connections between u3as and regions by location or by interest. Okay. This is when we get to, and now it's disappeared. Has that gone white for you?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, okay. Now, I think if you click again, there was a video that appeared.
I'm not sure. It's probably too much for it. Can you, is it white? Is it still white for you?
Yes, it's still white for us, Harriet.
Okay, well, I might have to send around the link separately for the video. That's a shame, because it's a sort of 3-minute video around the u3a, and it just gives you a sort of visual, instead of me talking about it, it gives you a visual idea of what it's all about, and members talk about it and how they see their experience of the u3a.
Yes, we'll be happy to send it around through our
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I even worked out how to embed a video, but that's a shame. But you can watch it in your own time. This is an example of a u3a group, Burnham on Crouch, in Essex. So they have links with Anglia Ruskin University, and they really wanted to learn about archaeology, but they didn't just want to learn about it in theory, they really wanted to do it as well. So they found they made these contacts with the university, and they were trained by professionals, and then they became involved in several digs, and then actually some of their finds changed history in their part of Essex. So I just think it's a great story about, you know, different things that u3as can get up to. Okay, well, I'll move on. You're just going to have to put up with me talking more. I was hoping you get a bit of a break with the video, but I'll move on to talking a little bit more about the benefits of u3a. So this report we actually produced quite a while ago in 2018, but I still refer to it all the time. It's really helpful. It was a survey of over 800 members, and we did some focus groups as well. And it really asked members, well, how do they experience the u3a? So here you can see the reasons why they joined the u3a and what they loved about it. 91% making new friendships and feeling supported, learning new skills, feeling healthier, becoming engaged in the community, managing life changes such as retirement, illness, and bereavement, and building confidence. But interestingly, it's the friendships here that come up top, and feeling supported. Yes, the u3a is around learning new skills, that came up high, 84% as well, but it's really the connections, I think, that supports that. It really attracts people to the u3a. And if you'll be familiar with the literature around aging well, and it's the social connections actually that always come out on top in terms of any indicator for the importance of aging well. People need connections. So this report showed that the benefits of the u3a for well-being. People said it was a constructive use of time. It gave them a sense of purpose, of confidence, and feeling like they still have something to offer, and feeling that their life skills and life experience weren't wasted, and they really felt a sense of value. And I just stuck this in today. Actually, we just got an email yesterday, and it's just an example of so many emails we get all the time from members directly about the benefits of u3a. So she's saying, I'd like to thank all u3a members wholeheartedly for the hard work that they do since joining u3a after the death of my husband. I've been given something each month to look forward to. It's helped me cope with grief. Coffee morning talks with very friendly company helps. And I'm now looking forward to online events, which are invaluable when I'm unable to go far to get around. She's put her name on for the waiting list for a pottery group. And so that's sort of more things to look forward to. So she says, God bless you all and everything you do to make our old age fun. So that's really from the members themselves. And they're really, lots of members really talk about how the u3a is such a lifeline. So more recently, we produced this report, which I can also send the links for both reports. And this was really to showcase the importance of non-formal learning for health and well-being, and really put it on the map and try and get some of the recognition that non-formal learning and the u3a model really deserves as a sort of public health tool, really addressing key societal issues like loneliness and isolation, addressing this healthy life expectancy and the gap in healthy life expectancy, supporting community cohesion. U3A members are out and about in their communities, gathering together. There's building social capital. And the report also drew attention to the fact that lifelong learning is the fourth pillar of active aging, and it really is not recognized. And not to mention what I've said before, the U3A model is very low cost, it's very accessible, and it's also scalable too. It could grow a lot bigger if there's that demand and desire. So moving on towards what I call some of the challenges. Here you can see the growth of the U3A movement in the UK. This is the number of U3As, so not the membership numbers, but the number of U3As themselves. So really a huge growth from the late 80s all the way up to 2019 we have here, and then there's a little dip, and obviously that is related to the pandemic and how a lot of things changed. So the numbers of U3As are actually decreasing now, although the membership numbers are still going up a little. But I mean, the question is here, has the U3A movement now reached its peak? Is that it? Or I'll move on to some of our challenges. Sorry, I'll go back here. Because we are facing some challenges now. We're 43 years on now from when the first U3A was set up. Some of the challenges are around this idea of volunteering. Volunteering is changing very much in the community, but this model is absolutely reliant on volunteers. Everyone is a volunteer, and it's expected that people stand up and help out and share their knowledge and skills. And the biggest challenge we always hear from U3As is recruiting committee members to run their independent charities. So if we're going to continue to grow, this is something we really need to address, and get across that the members do have to be prepared to get stuck in. It's not a service. It's a very different model. There's a changing demographic. We've got Generation X coming along. They may have very different needs and expectations about life, about what they want, attitudes to membership organizations. Is the U3A something that they're looking for, that they want in life? People are changing, lifestyles are changing, people have a lot more responsibilities, or they're working longer. So how can we work with that? So yeah, so we need to continue to remain agile and be able to adapt and change to all these societal changes in life and wishes and desires of people. The diversity of the movement, ever since I've joined, it's always been a sort of a stereotype about the U3A, that it's a white, middle class, educated, and this might be true to some extent, possibly based on the fact that it's very much recruitment by word of mouth. So you just tell your friend down the street, and same necessarily attracts same. So there is a potential challenge around diversity of the movement, and could we be reaching out to people who don't know it. I mean, you walk down the street and many people still don't know what the U3A is. So there is an issue to unpick a little bit there. And finally, this idea of one voice, the anarchic foundations, which Eric Midwinter talked about, is quite evident in the tensions between the sort of local control of U3As and being part of a national organization. So we're not necessarily able to speak with one powerful voice, because some U3As might not share that. And then some U3As, some U3A members don't necessarily want to, or it's not important for them to be associated with the national body. They do what they do at the local level, and members love it, but to be identified with a bigger movement is not that much of a priority. So there's those kinds of issues that also need to be reckoned with if we're to move on and be relevant for the future. So just finally, I'm going to talk about some of the future steps that we're thinking about. We want to do more research with our membership about this idea of volunteering, people's members' experiences of volunteering, the enablers and barriers to volunteering, because volunteering is our foundation. It's the foundation of the movement. So we feel like we really need to go and ask them about, unpick some of the issues around volunteering and whether members themselves feel like it's still fit for purpose. Excuse me. We need to think about attracting and appealing to the next generation. We did a national, we tried to do a representative survey. We do them every 10 years, and it looks like the average age is about 74. So we need to, if we're to stay relevant and grow, we need to appeal and attract to the next generation. So we can try to explore different U3A models, not necessarily the model that was developed 40 years ago and maybe is not so useful now. So whereby we might engineer U3As possibly in other areas, in more deprived areas, so that it's less organic. We've been relying on sort of more organic sort of evolving of U3As, but it's not to say that we couldn't try and sort of engineer them so that they are more located in other areas. We can try a paid tutor model, because at the moment all members aren't volunteers and they're not paid, but that's not to say we couldn't bring in external tutors to lead some of the groups, or even indeed get external volunteers to help out. At the moment all volunteers are members. So there's some things we're thinking about that we could potentially do. And the last one, because I know I talked to Jitka a little bit about this, we're really keen to develop an evidence base. At the moment, there are pockets of research that have been done globally around U3A, sort of, peer-reviewed articles here and there, but it's quite disparate. There's no sort of cohesive whole. So it's really hard when we're sort of talking about the movement to really sort of draw down and say, look, these are the clear benefits of the U3A. So we're really keen to do some of that work and really show some of these benefits that I've alluded to through the presentation, that are really clear and obvious. We hear it from members all the time, but would be great to demonstrate better into the future. So that's me. Contact me. Welcome to contact me and ask any more questions, or if you are interested in sort of talking about any collaborations or research, please do get in touch. I'm happy to try and answer any questions now, or we just open up for a general discussion, particularly from the U3A members we've got in the room. But some prompts. Do you have any reflections about the model? Do you still think it's fit for purpose in this day and age? Do you have any other insight about other models or research that could support the movement going forward? Any suggestions about how to measure success? Yeah, so I'm gonna shut up and leave it there, and let's open it up to the floor. Now I'm just going to end.
Thank you so much, Harriet. I'm just copying your questions in the chat.
Oh,
So
well done.
insights or comments are welcome at this point. As Harriet mentioned, especially those of our audience that are members of the U3a. Do you think this model is still needed? Do you see still the benefits? How we can improve on that, and so on. So any comments are welcome. Harriet, if you could stop sharing your screen, please.
Oh, sorry. I thought I had.
Yes,
There.
thank you. You can put your comments in the chat or just unmute.
Eleanor Brooks, U3a member. Hi. Nice to see you. Which U3a are you a member of?
So I belong to two different things. I belong to White Cliffs Country, which is down in Dover and Deal. And I also belong to the interest groups online that were mentioned.
Okay.
So I'm one of those people that throw themselves very much into the U3a, and I've been supporting one of the Kent network of U3as as well. So your first slide was, I think, from the York Festival, because I recognised two of my friends on that one.
Oh, fantastic. Yeah.
And I only joined it because my aunt talked about it. So she died a couple of years ago in her 90s. And she'd always told me about going to her U3a group. And at first I didn't really know what she was talking about. And then sort of as I started caring for her more, I heard more stories about how like she was preparing for a session where she was leading a session and everything. And I thought, is she teaching? And then I realised it's just everybody who shares in the leading. And so that's why I joined when I retired about 4 years ago.
So like I was saying, so it's word of mouth, isn't it, that you hear about it? And it is quite a different model. People are not used to that kind of model, I think. Yeah. Is it still relevant today?
Yeah, I think so. We've got a very active U3a, and the people in it get a huge amount out of it. There's quite a high turnover every year. So I think, it's a really wide age range, because like formerly there's no age range at all, but sort of most people would join in their 50s or 60s, but it goes up to people in their 80s, 90s. And what you're like as a 50-year-old and what you're like as a 90-year-old is really different. When you think of other groups, they're much narrower sort of bandwidth, really. So what suits people who are sort of younger and fitter doesn't suit people who are older and perhaps not so fit. Although you can't put an age on that.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, as lifestyles change, and there isn't this sort of cliff edge of retirement anymore. People sort of moving in and out of careers, and we're thinking, some people who maybe get made redundant or for whatever reason sort of leave their old career, might be sort of 40s, 50s, might lose confidence. It's also potentially of benefit to much younger people to sort of join and to grow confidence and share skills and then move back into the workforce.
Harriet, there's a comment in the chat from Bruce. Says the requirements of being a trustee fit uncomfortably with the trends in volunteering, but it may be possible to experiment with different forms of governance.
Yes. Yeah, what you mean, Bruce, because it's quite onerous to be a trustee. Are you saying?
Yeah, so being a trustee requires quite long-term engagement and quite commitment. The trends, the best data we've got suggests that people want more sort of fixed term and flexibility in their engagement, which doesn't fit well with being, a trustee in that sense. But so I've been thinking about this a little bit with Marianne, who's also on the call, and but I happened to meet somebody a couple of weeks ago who's an expert in charity governance and trustees who felt, and we were having a chat, and she felt that charity law doesn't necessarily prescribe the exact form of how groups are governed, that there may be within what we have capacity, the space to experiment with different forms of governance that do the job that maybe work better with the way people want to give time.
That's fascinating. Yeah, it could be very, very helpful because it is a very traditional model of volunteering, and we know that people want more flexible ways to sort of offer their time. But within that
Anne is
framework,
trying
Bruce,
to add something. Anne, yes.
Hi, Anne.
I just had a question, maybe about the gender distribution and whether it has changed at all. I mean, I know usually there are a lot more women than men involved in
Yes,
in these things,
and that
and whether you have any experience in sort of involving men in some way that, I don't know, the men's sheds seem to have been a very successful development to
very
attract more
popular.
women to networks.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, Anne. And that same 2019 survey that we did, it showed that there were 70% women, 30% men, so definitely dominated by women. And there's been little pockets of research about that, and bits of projects and efforts to sort of support and attract more men. But yeah, you're right.
One brief comment is that the name has always been a bit of an issue. You know, the
full
concept of
name,
the university, the university
Yes.
concept puts some people off.
Exactly, and that's what I alluded to at the beginning, and that's why we very much want to be known as u3a as opposed to the full university of the third age, just because people see that it's a university and think, oh, that's not for me, whereas that's not the case. Although, as I said, Eric Midwinter wanted to use it as more of a tongue-in-cheek, but it's a university for everyone, but similar to open university. Yeah, but it doesn't, I don't think it flies in this day and age.
We have a comment in from Eleanor. It says it was very interesting to note that all founders that the founders were all men, and that at our monthly meeting last week was a member talking about her working life in a nuclear power station. It was the first u3a event where I had seen more men than women present.
Ah, yeah. Well, yes, you're right. Absolutely. They were all men, and there was another picture of Diane Norton, who was actually she was very integral at that time as well, but really sort of implemented it into practice. So there you go. There's always a woman behind the men that is doing the hard yards.
Mm-hmm. And there is also a comment from Evgenia in the chat. Here's a quick reflection from your speech and my research. Having reviewed the course portfolio, I could not identify provision that addresses the interest of Ukrainian migrants aged 50 and over. It might be worthwhile to establish a dedicated strand or cohort for Ukrainian participants and to encourage online engagement to gauge demand. Many potential learners are unaware of such programs and opportunities for community learning. As clearly signposted, official channel could also help protect older participants from scams.
Yeah, thank you.
You did mention something about the lack of diversity. Just to echo what Evgenia is saying, I work in Canada with a lot of migrants from a lot of different ethnic backgrounds. And that's also kind of a question that I have, is that are there programming that are just for example, English language learning, or that is culturally relevant to immigrants? Because we're seeing a lot immigrants who are coming later in life to like reunite with their children, but they are seeking independence and social opportunities beyond just their immediate household. So do you have any kind of examples to share, maybe for Ukrainian migrants or any other culturally specific programming?
Well, I think the issue is, and it's the strength of the movement as well, but it is run and determined by its members. So it's you can't impose that. You can't just say, right, we're going to have a group around Ukrainian. So it has to be driven by themselves. Well, that's the existing model anyway. So unless we look to sort of branch outside of that and do things a little bit differently, then it's probably not going to happen. Why it's not necessarily appeal to people from other sort of ethnic backgrounds, I'm not sure. Whether it's something kind of externally in terms of well, it might just be that not knowing about it, or not necessarily fitting in with the lifestyle in terms of time. Could be all sorts of reasons.
Yeah, I think the word of mouth, as you mentioned, is a bigger component where people might not know. And there's a comment from Eleanor in the chat as well. There are several U3As offered free membership to Ukraine refugees, but then might not have run anything particularly for them. I also wonder if there is a language barrier as well. My research is in language learning in later life, and particularly kind of organizing community-based English language learning for immigrants. A lot of people I work with have lived in Canada for a long time, but they still don't speak English fluently, and then it's a barrier to attend. So I wonder if it's the same in the UK, because we find that a lot of programming for older adults don't necessarily consider language proficiency of older immigrants. And a lot of language learning programs for immigrants don't necessarily consider the needs of older immigrants. So the programming is really kind of job focused or, childcare focused. So there's definitely a gap there. I wonder if it's the same in the UK that you've noticed.
I think someone else might have an answer there. Sorry, I don't know how to pronounce your name. Eugenia?
Yeah, hi. Just like it was my reflection, and just would like to quickly reflect again what Natalia said and what you, Harriet, said. From my research, I understand that Ukrainian people over 50 would like to participate in some activities, even online, and get the information from the more or less proper routes or proper university or any kind of format which could provide truly information, very like in a good English which they can understand. Because yes, you're right, their English is not very nice, even if I'm 3 years here, but anyway, when I nervous, I can't express myself very fluently in English. And Asian people, they also have struggled to express themselves. They could interact with the same Ukrainian people, share some information with people who speak in English, but that what they would like to achieve, just a communication in between them, without scams, without inappropriate information or advertisement or something like this. So what I was thinking, that to bring their communication and non-formal education to the universities, like universities of the third age here in UK, rather than just to establish multiple Ukrainian groups where they just do nothing, then they get disappointed and again come back to the families when they feel just like a dependent person or family care, and that's it. Thank you.
I wonder, Eleanor, if you've got any experience of how we can be more inclusive of people from different cultural backgrounds, and you know, reflections on language as a barrier from your perspective as a u3a member.
That's really interesting, because I think that there's a very high proportion of u3a members who have got a lot of goodwill and heart for helping people. And quite often u3as look for community projects to get engaged with as well. But there might be a lack of understanding of what those immigrants might need. And so perhaps doing some work, maybe through the Third Age Trust, Harriet, meeting with some refugee agencies or something like that, and then expanding that as like an offering. If you're looking at doing this, these are some ways of doing it, might actually help that to spread.
Yeah, absolutely right. We did some research recently, because u3as, I mean, beyond the great things that they do every day in terms of putting on interest groups and coming together, they have, your members have a lot of impact in their local communities. They do get involved in a lot of projects, going to schools. There's a lot of intergenerational projects, might, like you said, take part in sort of fundraising activities, or in kind of other types of kind of community-based development projects and things like that. So there's definitely scope there for more.
The conversation in the chat is really heating up. I'm just going to read our last comment from John, because we just have 1 minute left and people have other commitments. John says it might be useful to start from what u3a has in common with other voluntary movements that have run into difficulties or whose growth has stalled. As regards to diversity, which is often about neighborhood, it would be better to restore public adult education with u3a as a learning partner. This is such a great idea. If only we had some political willpower to back this all up. Yes, it's indeed, I think, a very good idea. And I just want to thank you, Harriet, for taking time to talk to us, and everybody for attending, and Carly for bringing your kitty.
I know.
And I'm just going to take one last second to let you know that we run this kind of talks regularly. Our forthcoming talk is going to be from Canada, and it will be on a little bit different approach to learning in later life, and it will be about age-friendly university. So we'll be hearing from a colleague who works in a university in British Columbia, who's going to talk about how they rearranged their formal educational offerings to be more age-friendly. And if you have an idea to have a talk, if you have some practical showcase, or if you have any questions or suggestions for our talks, please do let us know. We're actively seeking ideas from our membership to make sure that the talks that we offer are interesting to you all. I will be sending out an email shortly with the recording of this talk. So if those of you who want to rewatch it or take some time if you miss some information, please share this link widely. Thank you all for coming again. I hope you have a wonderful time of the day wherever you are. It's noon in Canada, evening, I guess, in the UK, but we do have a global community. I'm very grateful for you joining, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, and thank you, Natalia, for fabulous chairing, and Harriet for your talk. It's been a fascinating journey.
Yeah. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much. Bye.